Welcome to Part the System. I'm David and I'm on Gadigal land. And today I'm with the wonderful team from Healthstin, Dr. Rachelle, Sultana and Andrew Formosa. How are you, guys?
Good, my friend. Thank you for having us.
Good. Thanks for having us, David.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. And yeah, really excited about this one. I'll just talk a little bit about you guys to give the viewers a little bit of background. So Rachelle is the lead allied health professional at Healthstin, with over a decade of experience working in the health and well-being space. And she's been the driving force for supporting the most vulnerable in our community to move better each day. And I can definitely get behind that. As the senior accredited exercise physiologist at Healthstin, an academic and sought-after mentor, Rachelle has completed a PhD in investigating the effects of different exercise modalities on body composition in obesity and diabetes. Most recently, she authored the Exercise and Sports Science Australia position statement on physical activity in the management of obesity in adults. Well done, Rachelle. And Rachelle regularly mentors and provides educational seminars for other allied health companies and complementary service providers to better understand the benefits of physical activity for people with disabilities. Now, Andrew is the managing director and he's got lots of experience in leading teams, and you actually co-directed an international fintech company for several years before beginning Healthstin with Rachelle. Andrew is a Bachelor of Business Administration with a Bachelor of Arts in Human Resource Management, and through Andrew's vision and ability to connect and coordinate the right opportunities for clients and local community to improve health and wellbeing outcomes is the foundation for Healthstin. Now, I've known you a little while, Andrew. I know you've got a true passion for community and really thrives on delivering improved health outcomes for individuals, families and communities through the Healthstin team. So, welcome, guys. And really excited to chat with you today.
Likewise.
Fantastic. So we'll get straight into it, and I'm going to go straight to you, Dr. Rachelle. What does well-being mean to you?
I guess well-being for me it's kind of like the core value, and it's where everything starts and finishes as well. If my well-being doesn't look the way that I perceive for it to be healthy, so it's kind of then a roll-on effect. Relationships have an impact if my well-being isn't to what I want it to be, if my work relationships, my work ethic as well, and just my general motivation to want to do things. So well-being to me is kind of my core value. If I want success in something or want to achieve it, it all comes back to how my well-being is. And I guess it looks differently throughout different periods and seasons of my life and what I'm trying to achieve for personally.
Yeah, nice. And what about you, Andrew?
That was a good answer, Dave. I'll double on that. The only thing I would add is probably well-being for me, and I kind of learned over the last 10 years, probably started with physical well-being. That's kind of what you see and what you know, training, playing a sport, whatever that might look like. But probably over the time, it's more mental well-being, actually understanding that the more you learn, the more you can take in, personally developing as well. That's probably what well-being means to me at the moment. Of course, there's a huge physical component to that. For your mind to be at ease and to feel your absolute best as well.
Yeah, and what are some of the things that you do then to keep your well-being in check?
Beautiful. So yeah, look, training. Probably been in the gym for 8 or 10 years. I love training. Again, it was that physical side at the start, and then it really just went on to more of a mind game that I needed to train X amount of times because I loved it. You love, the pump or pushing yourself, whether that's doing a bit of cardio, whether that's doing weights. I love doing things like not so much reading. I was going to say reading. I'm not a big reader, to be honest. I like audiobooks. I like things in my ear, or as you're driving, listening to something interesting. I like learning about financial markets. I enjoy learning about crypto is another interesting one. And then things in personal development, like learning how to breathe properly, or how to relax, or how to get your brain into a certain state so you can focus. That's the kind of stuff that I like.
Yeah, nice. And what about you, Rachelle?
I think I probably tick a lot of the same boxes as what Andrew said, but I'm surprised he didn't mention diet. I think that's probably the one thing. I think diet is just a way of eating, and I think the way that we eat plays a massive role on what our well-being and our health is like as well. And we know both very well that if we can kind of get our diet right, we know that our training comes with that as well. Then we can actually focus on other elements, because diet it's a big component in preparation, consumption, everything like that, cleaning up. So if we can kind of get the diet side of things right for us, the way that we eat and what we're eating, that's a big component for us.
Yeah, and it really affects your mood, doesn't it, food?
Yeah.
Yes, it does, especially when you're hungry.
Absolutely. And yeah, your energy levels, it's so important. And as they say, or I've learned, you can't outtrain a bad diet.
Yeah, true.
Definitely not.
That's it.
But Andrew, it sounds like you've got a lot of other things that you're involved in, which really looks after to keep your well-being in check and make sure you're looking after yourself. So lots of other interests there, which is not just around health and well-being and fitness, which is, I think, is really, really cool. And in terms of your background stories, then, guys, and this passion for supporting people in their health and well-being, where does this come from?
Probably from my side, probably Rachel introduced me to more of the disability space, and she'd worked in the disability space a few years, before we kind of partnered up as well. I always had a general interest in health and well-being, probably from a young age, even having like chronic back conditions and sciatica and my own pain. Always found going to different physios and chiros and doctors trying to get an actual answer. It was almost like, wow, we can't fix the problem, we can treat it. And it always kind of irritated me that I couldn't get a solution, right, or an actual fix. And there are situations where you can't fix something, but you can heavily reduce the impact. So that got me really interested in researching about health and well-being, and what else I could look at, an alternative health as well. And that's kind of my passion started in that space. And then disability came probably a few years after, as you can probably feel Rachel's passion for it as well, kind of rubbed off on myself, and yeah.
Yeah, great. And Rach?
It's a weird thing to say, but I can only ever remember when you get asked the question like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like through year 6 and early at high school as well. I always wanted to be something like a doctor with the muscles, the body, and then joints and movement side of things. Like I was a really active kid, loved to play sports. I think mum and dad kind of got sick of me jumping from this sport to this team sport and stuff, but I loved movement. And then learning more about the biological side of things and the biomechanical of how the body moves, then getting, push comes to shove, time for uni, didn't get the ATAR that I needed to for physio, got the opportunity to do exercise and sports science instead, which then like last minute I chose exercise physiology. And what I liked about being in the exercise physiology scope of practice is it's not just looking at what exercise does and what you can achieve within a clinic space, it's how you apply it in a real world setting. So for somebody who's at home, how do you make exercise as part of day-to-day life? What does their nutrition have to do with it? What are their lifestyle habits have an impact on their movement? Then the passion within particularly the disability space and working with people that they can't just easily pick up a dumbbell and do a press. Like that's not something that they can necessarily do. But you can still achieve the same results by challenging the exercises in different ways. And I think that's what kind of got my mind ticking of like, why do we have to do it that way? Why can't we do it that way? Why are we doing these specific exercises? What are we trying to achieve? And then that kind of led me down the path of doing a PhD, because I was always that curious person of going, but why? But why? But why? So then...
Very curious, Dave, very curious. And she was also on the debate team when she was young as well. I never noticed.
Yeah, just I think that curiosity stemmed of why, and then that led to the passion of going, but if we can achieve it for somebody who's an able-bodied person, why can't we achieve it for somebody who necessarily doesn't have the ability to stand and sit from a chair without any sort of assistance? So I think that's kind of where it started, and now I love having the opportunity to be face-to-face with people that need the support.
Yeah, and I think that curiosity and not just taking the status quo as it is and questioning, being a bit of an outlier, I suppose, because it's like, well, why have we been doing this all this time, when there's all these other things that contribute to your health and well-being, and I suppose that links us in really nicely to Healthstin and this kind of holistic approach that you guys take, which obviously has been grounded in a lot of the stuff that you've studied and experienced yourself. Andrew, you said you wanted to kind of look into and discover more things around people's health and well-being. Yeah, tell me about Healthstin in the health and wellness system.
Yeah, I think it kind of stems from both of our passion of where it lies, of that curiosity of wanting to know why, how things work as well. But Healthstin, in regards to the health and well-being space, is kind of taking away from your typical four-wall clinic where you just come in, you do your session, you leave, your problems fixed, tick a box. I think for us, it's that community side of things. And I guess that's how our relationship even started, David, is understanding how like that exercise physiology component or that exercise component for an individual can actually be looked at from a community-based setting as well. For us, it's, we have those people that need that one-on-one help and a little bit more guidance. But for Healthstin, we almost want to make ourselves redundant as therapists for an individual that comes to see us, because it's almost like, tick, we've done our job, because their health and well-being, they're able to take control of that themselves and be able to apply it in day-to-day life. Yeah, come in and with us.
And sorry, and have you got any like case studies or examples of that? So people come through your, and then when you say we want to make ourselves redundant, like practically what does that look like?
Yeah, so for us, it's almost just like if someone was coming in to see us, or we were going into their homes to see us because a support worker had some issues with getting changed their top on because their shoulder range of motion wasn't, what was easy enough for them to put a shirt on and off, that they always had to wear buttons. So the individual's goal might be for us, it goes, I want to be able to put a shirt on and off by myself. When we're able to kind of achieve that goal as well, it's almost just like, right, you've learned the skills, the tools and the knowledge of what it is. It's not just me sitting here going, right, you need to do 10 shoulder abductions, you need to do 10 shoulder flexions, you need to get your range of motion to 180 degrees. It's no, these are the little things at home that you can do. When you pick up the kettle, I'm going to get you to lift it a little bit higher than 90 degrees so that you kind of, building that strength up a little bit more. That's kind of what the program looks like. And then when we can kind of achieve the goal of why they've seen us, it's right, okay, let's look at a community-based setting. How can you kind of lead your own health and well-being in that space?
Probably adding to what Rachel's saying, another good example is working within aquatic centres. So we've got an awesome relationship with the guys here at Bluefit across 3 different sites. And it really was founded on the ability to be able to go, somebody would come and see us, somebody, a participant or anybody actually that wouldn't typically come and use the centre. They'd come and see us, they gain a little bit of confidence, or they build the ability and their capacity to perform X amount of exercises. And we almost build that kind of bridging kind of system with the guys here to have group programs, or even encouraging people to sit down at a cafe and speak to one another. So it's almost, they've come to see us, it could be a short or a long time, really depends on what they need, and then they move into more of a community setting. It's awesome to see people come in and they just stick their head into the clinic just to say hello, and they're going for a group session and a coffee afterwards. So that's kind of building that whole 360 of using us, which we love, and then using the whole facility and meeting people and building community.
That's awesome, guys. And I think what's coming out for me is that real sense of community that you're building with your clients, and then it's like end to end, and then trying to transition them into them being able to look after themselves, or do what activities they want to do, and really build up them relationships. So the stuff that you're talking about is really it's about social prescribing. And
pretty much.
And when we talk about exercise is medicine and physical activity is the wonder drug is within our sector, people throw around these kind of terms. How can we make social prescribing more mainstream and more of a service using kind of physical activity to help people?
Yeah, I think it comes working, and I know working with some minority groups or individuals who the education or their socioeconomic status, these services aren't easily accessible for them as well. It's for us, we do our homework and our research as well and reach out to community partners where physical activity might be something that isn't even thought of because it's just not possible in their day-to-day life, or they look at it as a costly thing to just try and get on track. So I think more basing it that in those sort of populations and communities to decrease the risk of chronic disease and increase education as well. It's the community sense there again. And I think we probably could go hell for leather using that word, but working with groups of people that are comfortable with each other as well. Like I know with the work that I've done here with Arab Council Australia, is working with people that are already comfortable with each other. They share similar goals and values, understanding what those similar goals and values are, then working backwards and going, okay, well, I know that you need to walk the children to school because you can't drive for whatever reason or it is, or, you know, you've got 7 kids and a 5-seater car. How can I help you kind of implement physical activity into that base? And I think it's trying to take away the stigma of what exercise is too. It's not like a 1-hour session where you're pumping weights up in the gym. It could be just simple as like little daily habits of movement that can increase their health and well-being.
Yeah, that hour in the gym, that's Andrew, isn't it? That's your thing.
It's about 30 minutes now.
You just a hit session. Too busy, but you're right, Rich. I completely agree. It's just movement, isn't it? And it's different for everybody. You know, we just have to get people moving to try and reduce physical inactivity, which is, you know, one of the biggest killers in the world, actually. And I suppose that's a segue nicely in terms of chronic disease and how physical activity can help reduce it. Because 1 in 2 people in Australia have got a chronic disease, which is just, you know, incredible, and the statistics are getting worse. If you could, improve the well-being of Australians through a systems approach, what would that be?
Probably awareness. I think awareness is the one thing that we tend to kind of fly off the radar for what it actually means. It's just awareness of what specific day-to-day movements can actually entail that increase the physical activity that we do in day-to-day life as well. Like, it's, again, taking that stigma away. If it doesn't need to be 1 full hour of exercise, it could be as simple as just, okay, when you're sitting up and down from your chair, let's do it another 10 times to try and increase your capacity that way. If you're walking to the bus stop, let's walk an extra 5 minutes as well. So I think, yeah, trying to, I guess, implement it into day-to-day life is going to be the best way that we try and combat any sort of chronic conditions. But it's the awareness of it, of everything that we're eating. Are we aware of what the ingredients are? And I think it kind of goes back to like Healthy Harold days, when we had Healthy Harold days at school as well. Like, he just came in and he told us, what fruits we should eat and what bad things are as well. But do people actually know how to implement it into day-to-day life? Is it actually practical? And I think that's where we miss, is we know the knowledge, but the application, there's a massive mismatch between that as well. And that's what I love about being an exercise physiologist, because I've got the knowledge. I know what you need to do day to day. Well, let's just apply that knowledge into day-to-day life.
I can't remember Healthy Harold, because we
I was going to ask, did you have that in the UK?
No, I didn't have that. We must have had something though, but I can't quite recall it. And I suppose talking about the social prescribing bit, because obviously in the UK they've got link workers, you know, working with a lot of the GPs.
Give us half a second.
Someone's got their.
Thank you. No worries, mate. Sorry, my friend.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I was just talking about like the link workers in the UK that you might be aware of, you know, with working with the GPs and obviously like allied health professionals like yourselves. Where do you see that in Australia? And yeah, are you like partnered in with some of the local GPs in terms of like the services that you provide?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been a big component of, again, awareness. So exercise physiology is this little tiny profession in comparison to every allied health professional out there as well. And I mean, I often get called a personal trainer or whatever it might be, but I think it is the education for doctors, just telling our GPs as well that what exercise physiology actually entails and what it would look like for their patients if they were to implement exercise as medicine as part of their treatment program or prevention as well for chronic diseases.
I think a big part of that as well, where it ties in, is because physios is obviously a little bit more established, especially in Australia. Everybody's got their own physio, potentially a chiropractor as well. It's for GPs, you know, to relay the information of how potentially exercise physiology and physio actually work together, the different similarities, and which one you would need to see at, you know, certain stages of potentially your chronic pain or a goal you're trying to achieve as well. And that's a big part, not just in, you know, GP world or general population, but also in the NDIS or disability spaces, really working with all the stakeholders, whether it's support coordinators, whether it's LACs, just on, you know, education to say, this is where we fit in. And there's instances we have participants come to us and we'll still recommend going to see a physio or potentially, getting other treatments first before seeing us, because we know that's going to get the best outcome.
Yeah, great. And because how long have you guys been going now?
5 years.
Yeah, I've been, I guess I started as just like a little sole trader going around the northwest and Blacktown suburbs of Sydney, going to people's home and just working with GPs to get people rolling as well. And then, after meeting Andrew, we've expanded into Healthstin over the last 5 years.
That's amazing. I love it how you just give it a crack and have a go, and to where you are now. But I must ask you, because I know, you're obviously working in business together, and you guys are actually a couple as well. So and from my experience with Jen, who's also the co-founder of Collective Leisure, working together and living together, it can have there's challenges, and there's some great things to it as well. But what's your secret?
I think we learned pretty early on. We had a common interest as we met in kind of health and well-being, so it kind of sparked obviously that portion of the same kind of common goal of what we wanted to achieve, and it was a lot of excitement, and still is, to be honest, 5 years later. Probably learning our strengths and weaknesses, so knowing what part Rachel takes care of and what part I take care of, and we very rarely disagree on we disagree on a lot of things, but we really disagree on that part. She's great at what she does, I believe, completely, in terms of what she can do from an exercise prescription and teaching our team and keeping them, up to, above what the industry standard is as well. That's, her part, and I can support as much as I can. And flip side of actually running the business or doing the accounts and sales.
I think he's underselling himself in the sense that when I come up with this crazy idea of going, let's do this, let's do that, I want to help person this way, Andrew's the one that kind of humbles me in the sense of going, that's a great idea, but let's put it down on paper and actually strategically work it out. And like for me, a biggest thing that I've learned from Andrew as well, and I think that's we learn from each other a lot, in the sense that I would have never have just openly sent an email to somebody going, hey, can we have a chat? I'm interested in your stuff. Like, what do you do? What do I do? Can we collaborate? And then that's where Andrew sort of came in and goes, well, you've got the knowledge and the skills. I know how to do the reach out, and just working together that way and celebrating the wins. I think that's one thing that we don't do often enough. Like when we get a new referral come through as well, like each and every day, it's almost just like, yes, cool.
We still celebrate now getting, how many referrals we get in a week. We'll still celebrate the same we did as it was our first client, because it's just that excitement we have for the industry and what we can do as well. So, and then, kind of fostering that and teaching our team the same kind of values.
Wow, I think that's, it's really impactful. And you're on this journey together, right? Which I think just makes it even more richer. And you're obviously, you're growing from strength to strength, and doing it together, I think is beautiful. Because how many people do you have on your team? 13
now. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And we're probably scheduled for this year to at least go to about 20. Just with the need across the centres and mobile as well. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's great how you talk about your strengths there, and obviously it sounds like you're a bit more of the practical person, Andrew. Putting the steps in place, and Rachel, you're the visionary. So
yeah, she comes with the crazy ideas. I try and make it happen.
Just remember, this was a crazy idea we first spoke about 5 years ago, and look where we are today.
Yeah.
Very humble.
That's awesome.
Hard work that got us here. It was his words and my idea.
Yeah,
that's it. And in terms of back to the your bio, Rachel, when we were talking about working with the most vulnerable within community, how I think awareness and education is what you're talking about is really important. But is there any other ways we can look at trying to get more people more active from disadvantaged groups?
Awareness and education, that's probably definitely number one as well. But I think it's kind of working backwards as well, and going like, why are people in the situation they are in at the moment? What is their barriers to physical activity? But you ask usually the general population of someone who walks into the gym and going, oh, why weren't you at the gym last week? Oh, didn't have time, work was too busy and stuff. So I think we don't do we probably do, but it's not as knowledgeable for us as allied health professionals to kind of work backwards and go, well, what are the actual barriers for each individual person? And again, like as much as we want that community sense, it's going back to each individual and going, right, what are your specific, barriers and strengths towards physical activity? Do you even know what physical activity means to you? Do you even have any health goals for yourself as well? What is your family situation like as well? How can we incorporate that? Maybe that's more important to them. So then let's get a family exercise session kind of going on, something like that.
Yeah, awesome. And you talked about the partnership that you've got with BlueFit, which is awesome. And you obviously look after the allied kind of health stuff at the facilities, and it's looking at aquatic centres providing a whole bunch of services. There's a real shift these days from maybe more from a pivot from leisure to more well-being and wellness services, which is great. Looking at like whole of person well-being for the community. Where do you think the industry is going with the types of stuff that you do? And yeah, have you got any thoughts on that, considering these aquatic centres are there for like the whole community and for everybody?
I think like from a wellness perspective, I think we've even seen a shift in our own like exercise programs and training and health programs and stuff. Like breathing has become like a component of our own wellness as well. And I do feel like those sorts of complementary or alternative services that were sometimes seen as not as like mainstream as just exercise and diet, I think we'll have all these other different complementary components. And that's like, we even love having a massage therapist here as well, to try and do the acupuncture and the cupping side of things for people that do. That's wellness is to them, is finding that tension being physically released as well. But then, yeah, other services, I feel like breathing and meditation. Like I love looking at places where you see wellness pods and there's actually a space for time out for you to breathe, focus, calm, relax and everything. And I think
aquatic centres are adapting to that, to your point, David, of seeing allied health not as much as complementary now, but more as an integrated process. So if an average person wants to walk through the door, the type of services you could offer them based on what they need as well. I think these guys have done a great job of being able to be flexible within the communities that they're in as well, to understand their communities and bring the services that are required for that community. And I think that's probably the biggest thing we've learned probably over the last year and a half, that it's not one service fits all. So you can't just do exercise physiology in every single place. Some might require an OT or a speech or dietetics, or you might look at physio or massage. So it's really understanding that particular community you're servicing, and then being able to plug in those services at a quality, amount for that community as well.
Love it. And then that's breaking down those barriers and making sure anybody can access the facilities. And back to your point earlier, to make you guys redundant, you're maybe sometimes the entry point, and then they come through your programs, and then they might be able to go into a group fitness class, or they might just come and swim at the centre for their recreational swimming.
We love that. That's the win for us. If there's an ultimate goal of somebody coming to see us, that's exactly it.
Yeah, fantastic. And that rolls on to our last question, which is it's really more about you guys personally and where you see yourselves within the system, and how you contribute and influence it.
Yeah.
Andrew, I'm going to go to you first.
I was hoping we'd go to Rachel first, but in terms of being in the system, I love allied health. So in terms of what I want to see personally, I think it's been a big focus for us as well, is to make real impact. And I know that's easier to say to make an impact, but physically seeing it, from the grassroots of seeing how people actually change and how our services can actually heavily impact their life. We love hearing people going, I usually wouldn't come in, or I would cancel because, I might have X amount of conditions, but I come in to see you guys because I love the culture. I'll come in and have a coffee. So really, starting with that model, being able to build that model successfully and then replicate it into as many places as we can, to add as much as we can as well. And also collaborating. I think it's a big part of what we bring to the allied health space, is understanding what we're great at and parts that we need, help with, or to work with other experts, whether it be yourself, whether it be disability sports groups, and really, we've had tremendous success in being able to help people by collaborating with other people, to reach community as well. So that's what I love to see, is just that natural progression keep going.
And that's very much a systems approach, isn't it? Where you're all bringing something to the table in terms of with a common goal, I suppose, of what you're trying to do, improve people's health and well-being. Fantastic. What about you, Rach?
Yeah, I think not very much different to what Andrew said. I think the impact that we have is each individual's person's response to their experience with working with our team as well, and then the response that they might get from us referring them to another provider because they were able to fulfill that gap that we may not have been able to. And I think we've been really, really stronghold on the fact that we can't wear the hats for every single thing for somebody when they come to ask, for help or whatever it might be. And I think just taking those little wins as well, that impacts us to then kind of keep that passion drive. Like, I know our team thrives off seeing results as well, and that results-driven perspective as well within this space. I don't know. I just want to keep building on that and being able to help more people through our doors, or be able to find the door that's more suitable for them as well.
Yeah, well, you're definitely changing lives, because I've read testimonials of some of your clients. I've seen videos on social media, and I think you're doing a great job at Healthstin, and I think it's exciting in terms of the future as you grow as a business. I think the energy that you bring is awesome, and the help that you provide, because I'd like to thank you for the support that they've given to Collective Leisure so far as well. That's really much appreciated. And I just want to give you the opportunity, if you've got anything that you want to add or anything that we've missed. So over to you guys.
Me to add?
I just love to talk.
I love to talk. I honestly look forward to the partnership that we honestly have with you personally, David, as well as professionally with Collective Leisure and all the programs that you're trying to do. I really appreciate having these conversations with people that share that same sort of mindset. And at the end of the day, we know that you personally love your own health and well-being and wellness as well, and that resonates with us. But then I guess when you put all our heads together, being able to do that for the community that it's not even on their list of a priority as well, and being able to change their perspective. I honestly look forward to that and what's to come for this too.
Okay, awesome.
That's perfect. I could not add anything to that, Dave. Nailed that.
Exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, what's the rest of the day look like for you today, guys?
I'm about to jump in the pool with a client.
Oh, wow.
Couple more meetings and a bit of admin to do.
Yeah, that's a bit of everything when it's your own business, isn't it? So, listen, thank you so much for today, and wishing you well for 2022, and hope to catch up with you in person soon.
Likewise. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
No problem. See you guys.
Good. See you, Dave.